like to call the Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 Papillion City Council meeting to order. Ms. Brown, would you please take the roll?
Sunday. Mumgard. Gaines. Glover. Fanslaw. Klug. Stube. Engberg.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And do we have an affidavit of publication on file?
We do.
And a current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the council chambers. Ms. Powers, Administrator's Report, please.
Thank you. I have some exciting news to share. The city received notice yesterday that we were selected as one of the grant recipients for $1.125 million from the Civic and Community Center Financing Fund for Papillion Bay's renovation project. These funds, which are state grant funds, are awarded through the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, and they would help close our financing gap. If you guys recall, that we're no longer receiving or currently not receiving our state's or our sales tax, and this will close that gap for us. So it's really exciting. A huge thank you to Tracy Stratman and Robin Lance for submitting the grant application. This is a highly competitive grant. There were several dozen community projects, great community projects competing for these funds, so we feel very fortunate that we were selected. And you may recall the last time we received one of these grants was in 2018 for the community portion of the community center and the landing, and that was for $750,000. And we are very grateful to the state for being one of the projects selected, so thank you very much to them for that. And then a couple of other things. Walnut Creek Campground is now open for the year. All campsites are first come, first serve, and we don't take a reservation. So if you know anyone that's interested in reserving one of those sites or camping there, have them go to the city's website for more information on how to do that. And then there's several fun family events coming up, and I just want to highlight a couple of our big ones. The third annual Library Con is this next Saturday, which is April 5th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the landing. And there'll be some cosplay competitions, crafts, workshops, trivia sessions, raffle prizes, vendors, food trucks, and much, much more. This event is free and open to the public. And another event that's free and open to the public is our annual Easter extravaganza, which will be the following Saturday, April 12th. And that starts at 1 p.m. at Halleck Park. And that's where kids can take pictures with the Easter Bunny, search for Easter eggs, win some prize eggs, and play some Easter-themed games. And then just one final reminder about our upcoming spring cleanup days. That's next week, which is April 7th to the 13th. And as always, it's at the city's dump site located at the Public Works Complex, and it's open daily from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And just to reiterate that you must be a Papillion or La Vista resident or water customer. And there's more information on our website on what's allowed and not allowed to be dumped there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilman Klug. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item D1, ordinance 2057. An ordinance to approve the sale of lots 3 through 8, block 15 Papillion, and tax lots 2A6A, 2B2A2, and 2A7B, section 27, township 14, north range 12 east of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, Nebraska, to Urban Waters LLC. Is there a council member to introduce? Introduced by Councilman Klug. E1, ordinance 2052, an ordinance to modify existing minimum water rates, commodity charges, and surcharges. It's a public hearing. Any proponents or opponents? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Item E2, ordinance 2053, an ordinance to modify existing sewer charge and sewer use fees and to clarify the process for calculating usage during qualifying winter months. Again, it's a public hearing. I'll open it. Any proponents or opponents? Close the public hearing. Item E3, ordinance 2054, an ordinance to approve a change of zone from AG Agricultural and CC Community Commercial to AG Agricultural R4 PUD2 multifamily residential with a specific planned unit development overlay, and CC Community Commercial for the property legally described as Tax Lot 24, Section 36, Township 14 North, Range 12 east of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, together with the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter, Section 25, Township 14 North, Range 12 east of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, together with Lot 1, Southridge Village, the applicant's Bellino Land Development LLC, Bellino 72. Public hearing, I'll open it. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Patrick Sullivan. I'm the attorney for what will be the SID here, as well as the developer. We've got all kinds of support tonight. Joe Chase is the ownership representative that can answer questions on our behalf, as well as Randy Meyer, the architect who's designed the buildings, and Trevor Vesgrena, who is the engineer with TD Squared. I'll just be brief, 25 or 30 minutes, and then, no. Briefly, this is going to be
3 minutes, time.
There is an overall larger development project that's part of this, but the initial development, or phase one, would be for apartments. Actually 640 units. We're looking at over $90 million in valuation. Units consisting of 321 one-bedrooms, 296 two-bedrooms, and 24 units that are three-bedrooms. It's actually a really good utilization of the property from the standpoint of some of this is in areas that floodplain where it has to be elevated and we can only use 25%. So we can kind of keep the density into the apartments and then have parking. And so it's kind of the best set use for those type of areas. We have several items on the agenda. There's a lot of little steps in this process. I'm just going to yield the floor to any particular questions that you have, and I've got my guys here to back us up.
Mr. Bumgard.
You mentioned this is part of a larger project. Tell me more about the larger project.
So if you look at the initial project, you're seeing some outlots that are immediately to the west of these properties, aligning 72nd Street. Those would be more in the neighborhood of commercial, business office type properties that would be in that area. The main drive in there would be like a boulevard where I'm trying to control him, but Don Bellino wants to put in like magnificent landscaping and everything else and make it a real, grand entry into the neighborhood. There will be another apartment units to the west. It would be in, if you look at the drawing now, it would be, I'm sorry, to the east, it would be up toward the northeast. And then we're hoping as we go down the road, not supposed to discuss this because it doesn't exist, but it does. There are some flood mapping that's going to change that will take some further property and make it available for development. But we were going to see a commercial type use to the properties immediately to the west and aligning 72nd Street. There is a potential opportunity looking at the very southwest corner for a church to be there.
Well, I'll tell you that I mean, you come in and you're describing another large apartment complex, and I'll give credit to the owner, the developer. They've done a wonderful job in the ones that they've made. So I sit here and I have faith that the project will be well done. I guess I am hesitant in that I would prefer that we would be more willing to see other types of housing, the duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, those types of things, rather than the 3-4 story apartment complexes.
We'll be in front of you in a couple months on that.
Well, I think the plan that was there originally included some of those. I understand from the flood issues, perhaps this is not the land that is best suited for that kind of a thing. And so going with the large apartment complex, you got to be practical and do what you can do.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of all the landscaping you're talking about. Please keep doing that. If, as the projects move forward, you can, the future parts of the project, like in the northeast up there, if it could be some housing other than just 3-story apartment complexes, I would be very, very pleased to see that. But I understand the practicalities of it all.
Sure. No, there's another project that we'll be getting after shortly that will have more of what you're talking about, but it's more because the ground is more conducive for that. Honestly, the developer wants to leave a mark, and it wants a good mark, and I think you're going to be very proud of the facilities that he's going to put here.
Thank you. Any other proponents or opponents? Seeing none, I'll close public hearing. Item E4, Ordinance 2055, an ordinance to approve the vacation of Halleck Street and South 69th Street right-of-way abutting Lot 1, South Ridge Valley, with title to vest in the abutting property owner. It's a public hearing. I'll open it. It's related to the last item, so I'll carry those comments over. But any other proponents or opponents? I'll close public hearing. Item E5, Ordinance 2056, an ordinance to amend Section 175-1 of the Papillion Municipal Code regarding approved fees and cost for goods and services provided by the city. Again, a public hearing. Any proponents or opponents? Close public hearing. F1, Resolution R250062. It's a public hearing and a vote related to the previous items. A resolution to approve a preliminary plat for the property legally described as Tax Lot 24, Section 36, Township 14 North, Range 12 East of the 6 p.m. Sarpy County, together with Southwest Quarter, Section 25, Township 14 North, Range 12 East of the 6 p.m. Sarpy County, together with Lot 1, South Ridge Valley, generally located on the northeast corner, 72nd and Cedardale Road. Applicants, Bellino Land Development, Bellino 72. Again, a public hearing. Any other proponents or opponents? Close public hearing. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R250062? Motion by Councilman Glover. Second by Councilman Fanslow. Any discussion? Please vote.
Eight ayes, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Also a related item, F2, Resolution R250063. It's a public hearing and a vote. A resolution to approve a comprehensive plan for the property legally described as Tax Lot 24, Section 36, Township 14 North, Range 12 East of the 6 p.m. Sarpy County, together with Southwest Quarter, Section 25, Township 14 North, Range 12 East of the 6 p.m. Sarpy County, together with Lot 1, South Ridge Valley, generally located northeast corner of 72nd Street and Cedardale Road. Applicants, Bellino Land Development. Public hearing. Any other proponents or opponents? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R250063? Motion by Councilman Gaines, second by Councilman Stube. Any discussion? Please vote.
Eight ayes, 0 nays.
Motion passes. F3, Resolution R250068, a public hearing and a vote. A resolution to approve the First Amendment to the Highway 370 Mixed-Use Development Agreement. It's a public hearing. I'll open it. Proponents, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Brent Beller, 11440 West Center Road, on behalf of the applicant 84370 and council members. Hi. I think it's been a minute since we've been before you. The last time we were down here, I think it was the discussion on South Harrison and deconstructing that entrance going north. So we're happy to be back for this request, but also I wanted to touch base and maybe give a quick update on just Tower District, where we sit, status, that sort of thing. I think it's going to be helpful. Obviously, that this is a big project for your city. So the request before you is, obviously we're subject to the mixed-use development agreement. In that mixed-use development agreement, there's a laundry list of uses. One of the uses that's currently not on there, oh, I'm sorry. I told you I'd ruin it. One of the uses that's not in that list is auto services. So down on Lot 84, as soon as this fires up, I'll show you. Lot 84 was originally programmed for an office use and parking lot. So here, if I zoom in, I'm going to do this. I got it. This is Lot 84. So this use used to be, or I'm sorry, lot 84 used to be the larger lot here. There was a parking lot program right where this use is. Les Schwab, who is a nationally recognized, they've been in business for 73 years. They have approached the developer, Mr. Calabretto, to bring a Les Schwab to this particular lot. So what we would do is, the first is we got to get the use and the amendment approved on the mixed use development agreement. And then we'll do an administrative replat with staff to get that use there. But auto services, that particular use is currently not in the mixed use development agreement. So we're amending that to effectively allow us to do this. We think it's a good use. This was going to be a parking lot. And if I could broaden out here, I think it's important to recognize the fact that to do a true mixed use development agreement, we need to be mindful of bringing every type of use we absolutely can into a project of this scale. Having a auto service like a Les Schwab helps that. A parking lot, not the highest and best use for property. This will bring jobs, this will bring sales tax, this will bring valuation. This brings people into the Tower District. We need that. The more cars, the more people we're in here, especially on the outer boundaries of the Tower District, is what really brings in the middle. So real quick, I wanted to give you an update, and sorry, I'll try to be brief on this, but I think it matters, because I know folks, I know you all probably get questions where we're at on this particular project. But let's start in the north. Pinnacle Bank has closed on their lot. They're starting development later this week. Here is a national seesaw. They will close here at the end of this month. In the middle, we have I think they call it quick service, but it is a user, it's a restaurant that you will all recognize. They close next week. Starbucks is already closed on their lot. This lot right here, they've pulled building permits with the city. This is AutoZone. They close in another month. Green State Bank has already closed on their lot. Of course, here is the lot we're talking about tonight. This would be a Les Schwab. And then Tower District, this is Mr. Calabretto and his development team. They've already broken ground on the apartments. So that is going. As you move west, all 6 of these lots are under contract with a local developer here in town. They are currently working on LOIs for all of their lots. As you go north into the residential portion of the Tower District, I think we have 10 folks that already own lots out there. There's existing houses up there. There's a number of lots that are actually under purchase agreements. So that's going. We call this our cottage area. A local developer is currently in negotiations with us to acquire all those. And as you go north, all the row homes along Rawhide and Mathis are currently under contract as well. So there's a lot happening right now. And I think over the next month, we're excited because all these users will start to break ground. All of our public improvements, thankfully, especially with the help of staff, it's all done for the most part. I'd say like 95%, obviously trails and sidewalks. OPBD still has some pedestals to do, and we waited a long time to get power out here, but we got power. So everything is coming together. But I reference all that because it's really important to fill in the outside. If Mr. Calabretto was here, he couldn't be here tonight. He's actually down in Kansas dealing with some actually cows. So if anybody's a farmer and you have an issue with cows, he's dealing with that right now. But he's a big lover of donuts. No pun intended. I know it's April Fool's. But you know, like if you had a jelly donut, to get to the middle, that's where the good stuff is. Well, you gotta eat the outside first, and that's what's happened here. This was always our plan, so that when you get to the center, the good stuff, the true mixed use, you need this volume of people coming into the development to truly energize these mixed use areas, those office uses, those really high-end retailers. So I can tell you right now, this is what we call, this is Zone 8. This is all going to be self-developed by Mr. Calabretto. These buildings, as you see right here, are currently working on architectural renderings for these. There is a steakhouse, there is a breakfast, there is a nationally recognized retailer coming in there, and then there's another restaurant that's actually poking around on this lot 10 down here. So there's a lot of activity. The reason I mentioned this is only because you have to get this going before all this goes. The other thing that I think people ask us about is, have things changed? And the reality is, no. This is still the plan that we all sat before you all. We all did the charade maybe 3, 4, or 5 years ago. I can't remember. The only two things that we've changed is right here on Cedardale, we had Starbucks, and right here was the C-store. We have flipped those. That's it. Nothing has changed. You still have the hotelier use. These folks over here would like to bring a hotel in here. There's a lot of excitement with the museum that's going on just north of 370 there. So I think they have visions to bring that. But the market has told us this is what is currently viable, and we're pretty excited about it. But again, tonight, the only thing that we're asking you to do is allow for us to utilize that Lot 84 for Les Schwab. So I'll give you just a quick schematics of what they typically look like. Very important to remember, we have the mixed-use design guidelines that your city has promulgated. Everything that you do on this particular building, four-sided architecture, will comply. They'll do that. These are just some different renderings, that sort of thing. So this would be the first to market Les Schwab. They have one in North Platte, and this would be their second. So they're pretty excited. They picked this site out of all the other sites in the state of Nebraska to come do their second one. So with that, I will stop talking, but if there's any questions, more than happy to field them.
Ms. Klug.
Yeah, lots of comments. I'll try to get to questions. I'm going to start with, you talked about doing the outside, and that makes a lot of sense to me that we want to do the outside to have the enthusiasm build for the jelly in the middle. Where I'm starting to have a problem with, and I'm going to talk whole development to begin with, is that you stated, like in Zone 4, that nothing has changed there. Yet when we started talking about it at the landing, there was not a restaurant over there on Devon. There was not a hotel over there on Devon. What we were told in public meetings with lots of citizens here who had been invited to come to the meeting for these approvals was that we were going to have a development with a developer who wanted to match what the citizens wanted. You are backing to houses on 90th Street, and you are going into a major residential area past that, past a church, past a school, and now administratively you've come in and you've asked for a restaurant and a hotel where it used to be, I believe the bank was closer, there was another use, and there was a medical building. So I kind of, I don't want to say take offense, but yeah, I'm kind of angry that we had promises presented by the developer, I will say, that are no longer being honored. And we are seeing these changes, and the citizens are, and why would they not be angry at you? And what is their desire to go and use these things when it feels like you've blatantly changed and are not living up to the promises of matching what the residents want?
Happy to answer that question. So if you remember, there was going to be a gas station here originally. No gas station there. High traffic.
Not on the one that was brought here. Originally at the landing there was. We had those discussions and we got it taken out before it even came to the meeting here.
The other thing too is this was a plan. This is a master plan for what we all intended for this to be. For the most part, what we've done, there was supposed to be a grocery store up here, right? If you remember the original plan.
There was.
High traffic generator. A hotel is one of the lowest traffic generators out there. And again, these are all conceptual. Like we're selling these lots off to a developer. It very well may be that there's no hotel here. And here's why I say that. There are 2 hotel pads that are currently on the market in the 370 corridor. Where are they? They're over on where 370, or I'm sorry, just off the interstate in La Vista. Those 2 hotel pads were under contract with Marriott and Holiday Inn. Both of those hotelier and those flags backed out. Why? The hotels aren't doing very well there. And we're getting a lot of news that hotels, there's just not enough bringing a hotel here. So this developer may want to bring a hotel here, but we're not here telling you that that's going to happen. But that, again, if they did, that's a low traffic generator to that particular use. A bank, again, I'm not sure all these other uses, but we've always had restaurants fronting 84th Street. That hasn't changed. We still have the assisted living there. We still could have an office user here. But again, an office, very, very high traffic user. That's much less than what you have here as far as these local type of fast food type restaurants. But we still have storage up there. So it's not changed in the sense that, if anything, we've lowered the amount of traffic that could go here. But also, these are just prospective users. Developer, Calibrado Development, they're not the ones doing this. This is the next, if the next folks come in for a building permit, I mean, there's where you'll see the actual uses. But as we sit today, I can't tell you 100% that all those uses are coming in there, because that's not us. We're not doing that. But this is what could be done on there, and this is what we have currently programmed based on this particular map. But again, those original uses, very, very high traffic. And I think it was you and your constituents that had that concern over there, which is why we moved a lot of stuff. So if you're worried about traffic, these are far less traffic generators than what could have been there based on that original plan.
And time of use. You've drastically changed time of use. Banking hours are 8 to 6. Medical buildings are typically a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And what you've brought in is things that are going to be used while families are trying to go to their home areas. That's what I'm hearing from my constituents. That's why there's getting to be a significant amount of resistance, that something that we had been told and that the residents heard was supposed to be super dynamic in this corner and across all of it, and unique and special going on 370, and that was the plan and that was the vision, and now it feels like, well, not really. It sounded great, but we're totally changing our minds. So we're going to have a difference of opinion,
Sure.
and I hope we can respect each other with that.
Of course, 100%.
I really want people to understand that this was not what at least I thought I was voting for, or what we were going to end up with in our community at the entrance where we're at on 370. It has changed significantly as far as we're used. Maybe not to a developer, but to the citizens that I represent, this really has changed, and it's not what they wanted. So,
Respectfully, I
thank
get
you.
it. I understand
Again,
where you're coming from.
We agree to disagree.
I do, well, reiterate, the traffic generated by this is far less than the original planned uses out here. That's very important to keep in mind. The other thing to remember too is 90th Street is being expanded. And so us with the city, we're working on that project. And traffic counts, I mean, I'm not in public works, but those uses will all be accounted for to make sure that the expansion of 90th Street can account for everything that is taking place in our development, and then also the traffic that is currently there for all the residential uses to the west.
Mr. Fenslow. Okay, thanks. Excuse me. So I hear you, right? You've talked to me, and you feel that there's some changes been made, but I'm here to talk about what you have in front of us today. So do you agree, or would one of the development team agree that for this use, this is probably the best site for that use on this plan?
100%.
I mean, I think it's, if you're gonna have this use on this mixed-use plan, it backs up to 370. On the other side of 370, there's a car wash, so it kind of
When you go
plays
up
what's already there, and I don't know where else, if you're gonna have this use in this plan, where else it'd be better suited.
I don't want to say this is wasted ground. It's not. If you built a 6-story office building back in 2019, 2020, when we were master planning this, yeah, you probably need that for parking. But the reality is those office users, they've dwindled. I mean, we all know that. I wish they would come back, but they're not. So this would have been wasted space. Putting a Les Schwab here is a win-win-win, and it's why we're entertaining it, and frankly, why we're even asking you all to consider this, because it's a benefit to the development. It's only going to drive more users into the mixed-use development.
Yeah, and so I'll say it again, if I look at this plan, I don't, if this use is going to exist in this development, that's probably a pretty darn good spot
100%.
for it.
There is not a better spot in here. This is all, I don't need to educate you all. This is all very valuable ground from a developer standpoint along 84th. This is very valuable ground. Cars drive by here. They want to see it. So when you can pick up a user, or a user wants to come in there, they're no dummies. That's a high visible spot for Les Schwab. And so as people are getting their tires changed or whatever, they're walking over to Starbucks. They're going to sit there for 2 hours. They're going to these restaurants. They could walk over here. They're going to utilize that trail system.
Yeah, so I said I was going to talk about this only, but I'm going to ask Travis, just there's, in your code, I don't know your mixed-use code as I know another one, but I assume that the minor amendments are built in for administrative review, and there's a certain set of standards or rules that you look at when you
decide if something is a minor or a major.
I want to hold off on the question a little bit. I don't want to ignore it, but since this is actually a major amendment on a specific topic and you're getting into a minor amendment question, I want to hold that because I don't know if it's germane to the public hearing,
Gotcha.
if
Okay.
that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm
Mr. Stubbe.
Talk a little bit about what services that are provided by this national retailer, because when I look in the information, it talks about repair of automobiles, non-commercial trucks, motorcycles, motorhomes, recreational vehicles, or boats. I have a little bit concerned about what can occur at that location from the standpoint of storing vehicles and things like that. Obviously, there's a different retailer out at 114th and Highway 370 that is a repair service, looks rather nice. I don't see a whole lot of storage out in that area, but I'm a little concerned about what this national retailer might bring to this particular location.
Good question, and I think that's really important. Number one, there's no outside storage, so you're not stacking tires anywhere. You're not having cars sit out there overnight. They are a same day, get in, get out type of service. You see these. That's the new model for a lot of these especially these national brand facilities where you drive in, your car's getting repaired, you're waiting, and you're out. So no overnight storage, no outside storing of tires or anything like that. I'm fairly confident your city's screening for any of this sort of stuff, whether it's trash or anything else, is pretty standard. So dumpsters, yeah, they're gonna have a dumpster, but nothing as far as tire storage, no car storage, no part storage, no sort of salvage uses going on this particular lot. This is, as you see, what you see is what you get. That's what it will look like. Oops, sorry.
Mr. Glover?
I have a related concern on that building also. So there won't be anything behind it between that building and the 370?
No, so behind it should be, if anything, just access to dumpster, that sort of thing. When they submit their building permit, your staff looks into that. They ensure that there's no sort of salvaging or storage taking place behind the building. Why? Because you have a major commercial corridor on 370 that line's right there. So there's very high standards that you can't do that sort of stuff behind the building. It's just if it's grass or if it's an entry drive to enter the rear of the building, that's about it.
Because the concern I would have is piles of tires that are
Not
sitting there
happening.
10 high. Even if they're there 2 or 3 nights, it doesn't make sense that we would butt that up right to 370 to the entrance of our city.
As the developer, we don't want that. So number one, I don't think your standards allow for that. Number two, we've asked Les Schwab, they don't do any sort of overnight tire storage. And number three, we can also slap a covenant on there that says no storage of any sort of materials on site at any time. So those are 3 pretty heavy restrictions that would restrict them from doing the very thing that you don't want, which in turn is the very same thing we don't want. We don't want people looking down on our development over there and seeing piles of tires. That's the last thing we would ever want.
Yeah, and I get that and I understand that, but the concern would be is once you have a dumpster, there's a chance that could happen. And if we have to develop something that would not allow them to do that, that would be great. But I do have concerns of what it's going to look like as you go into the entrance of our city. So
What I would tell you or represent to you is, I'll take it upon myself. We have a set of covenants, overall covenants for the entire development that restrict any sort of outside trash, receptacles, anything like that has to comply with the design review requirements. And so we are happy, and I'll follow up with staff to ensure that, yeah, there'll be no outside storage of any sort of, I'm not a car guy, but engine block or tires or anything like that. We don't want that just as much as you don't want that, because it hurts the aesthetics. We wouldn't bring you a user like this if we didn't believe that they are top notch. I mean, these folks are legit. They looked at a lot of sites here in eastern Nebraska, and they like the visibility of this site. So we trust that they are a good operator. And honestly, there's been a lot of give and take on this overall development from us and you all. And I think, you and I may disagree a little bit, but we have kind of stood by a lot. And this has taken a lot of time to get to where we are today. But we've stuck our necks out and said, hey, we're going to follow through on what we've said. I think it's important to remember, and maybe you all don't know this, but when we originally started this project, we had a user approach us that wanted all of this, a national user that would have taken almost a quarter of this overall development. That would have been payday for the developer. He's out scot-free on all his costs, and we said no. Why? Because that's not the vision. That wasn't the vision. That's not what you said you wanted. So we represented that, and we said no. We never even tried to ask you all. But that's been our mentality from day one on this entire project. And I don't expect that it'll be any different on this lot that was going to be a parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mumgarden.
Okay, now going on with the outdoor storage and all that, you've mentioned covenants that you would have that would restrict that.
They're there now.
Well, that's fine, but the city doesn't enforce covenants. So I'm looking for a better guarantee. What guarantee is there that these are going to be prohibited and we can enforce that?
So as part of the original mixed use and the mixed use agreement that is in effect now, there are we have multiple options there for enforcement. First is there is no outdoor storage permitted within the mixed use or for the mixed use development area. So there's no outside storage, no outside vehicles. There would be no outside tires that would be permitted. Everything would have to be contained within the buildings. Also, behind the building, for instance, the way that they've shown that, there is a minimum 25-foot landscape buffer, so no trash receptacles, no buildings back there, no mechanical equipment along the south side of the building. That has to be reserved as a landscape buffer along 370. And even just as another matter of fact, there's no outdoor intercoms even permitted for the district. So they are already built into the agreement and ones that we can enforce today.
Okay, second question is, as you were going through telling us what's already been approved, you mentioned something just to the north of the bank there along Washington Street. What is that?
I'm sorry, where were you talking?
Zone 10, just on the north side of the bank?
Up here?
Nope, not that far up.
Oh,
The
right here.
National Retail, yeah.
This is a get in the zone, auto zone.
Okay, AutoZone's going to,
They sell car parts. So they're a retailer of car parts. There is no sort of oil changes, tire changes, anything
sure,
like that.
I understand, but they're both, well, they're both selling car parts. One is installing them at the time they sell them, one is not. So basically, you're going to have two businesses there that are serving the same public. That doesn't seem to me to be the way that, I understand you want to fill the outside area and all
Sure.
that, but why would we, there on this busy corner, have 2 out of 3 buildings there be car repair related?
I don't work for AutoZone. I don't work for Les Schwab. But very, very educated, smart, capitalistic people do. They know what's going on at this site. They know AutoZone is going there. And I think there is a method to their madness in that they want to know, hey, if there is an AutoZone right there where people are buying parts, and then there's a place where they can get their cars fixed, that's probably a very similar uses where they feed off each other a little bit. So I recognize what you're asking. But me personally, you see this, where retailers follow each other into various developments. It's no joke that when you put a Starbucks here, there are certain uses that will go follow Starbucks. I think that is no different than an AutoZone and a Les Schwab. They probably catch wind of where the folks are going, and they follow each other.
My concern is that's going to be the car repair corner. You don't, you go to one place and get your parts and take it home, or you go to the other place and you take your car and fix it. That's highly visible corner becomes our car repair corner. I'm not crazy about that.
Well, is a car repair a high-end car repair? I mean, that's why I think it's important to recognize who we're actually bringing in. There's very few folks that we would entertain because we share the same thoughts that you all do. This is always intended to be a high-end development. If this was a different auto repair type use, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. But they met with us. They have a good sales pitch. They know what they're doing. They're not in business for 73 years doing auto repair, expanding across the United States, unless they're really good at it.
Mr. Sunday.
That's them.
Is this the back that we're looking at, the facing the highway?
This would be facing north. Yeah, so what you see from the back would be.
So do you have an artist rendition of the back that's going to be facing the
I
highway, which is probably the
don't.
most prominent intersection in all of Sarpy County, and you haven't got a rendition of that?
All they have sent us are these renderings of what they'll do. These are all front.
Well, I'd like to know what it's going to look like as the motoring public drives by, because this is Papillion they're seeing.
100%.
And I want to know what it's going to look like.
So the back of it will look exactly like this, get rid of all the windows. So there'll be some faux windows, but whatever we do back there, Mr. Sunday, will obviously comply with everything that's required by your design requirements. So this will be four-sided architecture, meets all your standards as far as what the city requires. It'll be no different than any other building that's along.
So where's this dumpster I keep hearing about? Where's that going to be?
Side. Jason just mentioned it.
Is there going to be some
Yeah.
structure built to block the
100%.
view?
You have to screen that under our covenants, but then also the city's design requirements. So what you're looking at here, this is the north facade. Behind it, faux windows, block, full-sided block, going all the way up, four-sided architecture. This is what they're required to do. This is what any building in Tower District is required to do.
Okay, and then if I may, I'd like to switch gears back to that map, if we could.
This one?
Over to the west side of the property along Devon there.
Yep.
That, just to the south of Devon, that northernmost structure, yes, right there. What is that going to be?
So, if I'm being honest with you, it could be anything right now. Anything that complies with the mixed-use development agreement. What this particular user has right there is a sit-down restaurant right there.
Okay, and that's what I was led to believe.
Yeah.
Before the meeting tonight, which I'm a little troubled by, because I was under the understanding that was going to be a bank.
So the
there.
bank has just been shifted right here to the south.
Okay, and that's extraordinarily close to the residential neighborhood. So we're gonna have 7 days a week, traffic flowing in and out of there to a restaurant.
We wanted to create a walkable community for Papillion. To do that, you have to have sit-down restaurants. We hope that if you're a resident that lives over here, or you're up to the north, you don't necessarily have to drive into our development. We thought folks wanted restaurants that they could walk to. So when you bring in restaurants, that creates the walkability of a true walkable development.
I also heard during the sales pitch that there was gonna be a buffer between residential and commercial. That's the way it was sold when it was presented.
This was gonna be a grocer right here. That's what originally was there.
Okay, you're on the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about right up against,
That
Devon.
grocer went like this.
Devon's a residential street,
The bank was
just
right
across
here.
the way.
The bank was right here. This was all grocer, this
Okay.
whole site.
You've answered my questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Any opponents? Yep. When you come up, you just state your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Yeah, Carrie Quintanilla, I live at 305 Valley Road. I don't know if this is the place to actually ask this question, but I knew the meeting was here and I was hoping that maybe it would work to ask. But on my property, which on the south side is the ditch that runs along there. And, well, I've called a few times complaining about how they were treating the ditch, so hopefully, but I talked to my neighbor briefly too, and she said something about that they were actually going to be removing her fence, and I don't know doing what on that side, on the north side of the ditch. And being that I'm her neighbor, I hadn't heard anything about anybody touching the north side of the ditch or doing anything. So I'm just wondering, would anybody here be able to tell me what's going on the north side of the
The item on the agenda tonight's doing nothing with the north end of the ditch. Now, what we can do is we can have Mr. Gibbons, our planning
Okay.
director, or Mr. Kleffner, our
Okay,
public works
yeah.
director, after the meeting,
Okay.
get with you and review any of that.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I didn't know for sure what
Oh, that's
was
fine.
going on.
Yeah,
but-
Mr. Kleffner will,
Okay.
if you want to stay for the meeting, because it won't be much longer.
Sure,
Mr. Kleffner, our public works
Okay.
director, can get with you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R250068? Motion by Councilman Stubbe. Second by Councilman Glover. Any discussion? If not, please vote.
Six yeas, 2 nays by Sunday and Klug.
Motion passes. Next is item F4, Ordinance 2050, an ordinance to approve a change of zone from CBD Central Business District, GC General Commercial, and GI General Industrial to CBD Central Business District for the property legally described as lots 3 through 8, Block 15, Papillion, with vacated 2nd Street right-of-way together with parts of tax lot 2A, 2B2, 2B2A, and 2A6, Section 27, Township 14, North Range 12, east of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, Nebraska. The applicant is the City of Papillion, Old Public Works. Is there a motion to approve Ordinance 2050? Motion by Councilman Stubbe. Second by Councilman Ingberg. Any discussion? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. F5, Ordinance 2051, an ordinance to approve the vacation of alley right-of-way within Block 15, Papillion, as platted, surveyed, and recorded in Sarpy County, Nebraska, with title thereto retained by the City of Papillion. Is there a motion to approve Ordinance 2051? Motion by Councilman Sunday, second by Councilman Gaines. Any discussion? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. F6, Resolution R250073, a resolution to approve a final plat for the property legally described as lots 3 through 8, Block 15, Papillion, with vacated 2nd Street right-of-way, together with parts of tax lot 2A, 2B2, 2B2A, and 2A6, Section 27, Township 14, North Range 12 East, 6 p.m., Sarpy County, Nebraska. Generally located at 200 North Adams, the applicant City of Papillion, Old Public Works. Motion to approve Resolution R250073. Motion by Councilwoman Klug, second by Councilman Fanslow. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. It's all the regular agenda items. We do have a closed session tonight, so before that, we'll do no committees have met. Any comments from the floor? Welcome. If you'd state your name and address for the record.
Rachel Dunham, 707 Crest Drive. Sorry, I'm not known for my speech making. Good evening, council. I have a question specifically for Councilwoman Klug. Yes, sorry. After last city council session, one of, or a couple of your constituents emailed you asking why you were not present at the meeting, specifically in regards to Ordinance 2048, the highly anticipated vote on urban chickens. Since there was no response to her email, I'm here to ask you on the record, could you provide insight into your absence, given that it meant your constituents were unable to have their voices represented during such an anticipated vote? Even though we all have an idea of what you would have voted, it would have been nice to hear.
Now I'll intervene real quick with comments from the floor. We can't get into discussions.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just gonna
And a
say.
little bit of education for folks. We can only get into active discussions that are published agenda items. So we can take any comments, but we can't respond and get into a discussion. Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? Council comments? Just a couple things from the last couple of weeks. Ms. Powers and I, we had a meeting with Commissioner Klug, County Commissioner, and Bonnie Moore, the County Administrator, just to do them. I think we're starting to do them quarterly just to sync up on things between city and county, so that was a good meeting. And then Ms. Powers and I, we had a United Cities meeting this week, and again, just the normal reminder I always give, if there's any legislative bills that you specifically are interested in, we've got some good mechanisms to track those now, and we can keep you updated, so make sure we know what those are, if there are any, and we'll get those into our tracking. They are at the point that all of the legislative bills have had their priorities set, and so for the most part, those are the items the legislature's working on. If something doesn't have a priority, we are at the first of the 2-year biennium, so those could be carried over to the following year. But let us know if there's anything. We have also been meeting, as you know, with downtown, a lot of the businesses have been activated, a lot of the spaces are being taken up, and depending on times you drive down there, there's quite a bit of cars down there, which is an exciting thing from where we were 7-8 years ago. But we are being a little bit proactive to understand there might be times we're starting to run out of parking down there. So we're having some discussions internally with a number of perspectives just to look at the whole dynamics of downtown. Where is parking? Where are there opportunities to increase some? Where's some education we can do? And we're actually doing an internal traffic study using our drones, getting them up at peak periods so we can actually map the whole downtown and do inventory. So you might be hearing some things about that, and we've been doing some things on social media. If people wonder, why is the drone flying around downtown? We're trying to educate and promote that. If you have any questions, let us know. But that'll probably be an ongoing thing over the course of the summer and maybe even a big part of the year because a lot of pieces in there. State Chamber had a legislative update I went to, and then we had a wastewater agency this month, and it actually was a pretty significant one. Gretna's got a fairly big potential request where they want to take about 1,100 acres. I'll say out of the agency. It's not totally out, but it's got a lot of policy ramifications, and so we're sparking a lot of conversations about how do you develop areas that are kind of in the reserve zone. If you've got some temporary solutions for developments, how do you do that? And make sure there's no winners and losers. One community is not in Senate over another community. And so I think there's good discussions going there. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple of months. Other than that, just a big reminder, cleanup days this weekend. And again, that's joint with La Vista. That's been a very good thing. Any other council comments? We do have a close. Oh, Mr. Sunday.
I just want to make a point, I guess. I think tonight kind of illustrated maybe, and I don't disagree with Mr. Gibbons having the power or authority to make minor changes on a project. I think maybe we need to do a better job of educating all of us or come to an understanding what a major change and what a minor change is. Because from our perspective, when we have upset constituents, that's a major change. That's all I want to say.
And we'll take that away because that's, I think, the question Mr. Fanslow is getting at as well. So we'll do some education on that, and then we're keeping a running list too for council retreat. So maybe it's an educational topic there as well. But we'll take that as away as an action item. Thank you. Any other council? So for the closed session, is there a motion to go into closed session to protect the public interest to discuss land negotiations? Motion by Councilman Glover, second by Councilman Gluck. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. I'll state for the record the purpose of the closed session is only to discuss land negotiations. Closed session will include the mayor, city council, city administrator, city clerk, city attorney, and planning director.